Maya, 35 years old. I work part-time to support my busy husband while also being a homemaker. My husband, Sam, is a bit older than me and is a laid-back kind of person. We've been together for over 6 years and we've hardly ever had a real fight. Both of us moved from rural areas to the city, so our parents live quite far away. I first met Sam's family when we went to formally announce our engagement. We didn't see much of each other after that because we quickly had our engagement and wedding ceremonies. There were no issues during that time. In fact, my mother-in-law Karen and sister-in-law Maribel seemed delighted, saying things like, "We're so happy our son is marrying such a lovely girl." My parents were also relieved by how well things were going. I remember that my parents were also relieved to see that. I thought I was getting along well with my in-laws, but I started to suspect something was off during our first extended holiday visit after getting married. Karen had called beforehand to ask, "I'd like to prepare some special dishes. Could you tell me what you like and dislike?" Touched by her thoughtfulness, I told her, "I love fish, but I'm not a fan of shellfish." However, the dinner on the first day of our visit was all about shrimp and crab, my least favorites. I was surprised but assumed Karen had misunderstood. It's not like I'm allergic. Sam even said, "Maya doesn't like shellfish, so let's have something else tomorrow." Karen apologized, saying, "I'm sorry I misunderstood when you told me over the phone." But while I was busy helping Sam with his crab, I looked up and saw Karen smirking at me. That's when it hit me. Was she doing this on purpose? After Sam's comment, no shellfish appeared during our stay. But neither did any fish dishes. Then came the next extended holiday. Again, Karen called to ask about my food preferences. Remembering last time, I said, "I like anything except shellfish." While shellfish was served, other dishes were also available, so it wasn't a big deal. But during our stay, I noticed other annoying things. Like the water heater being turned off while I was in the bath, or footprints on my boots. When I asked Karen, she gave vague excuses like, "I didn't know you were in the bath," or "I accidentally stepped on them." I wasn't convinced, but before I could say anything, Maribel, who's close to Karen, glared at me saying, "Are you saying Mom did this on purpose?" Behind her, Karen acted as if she were the victim. Even my usually clueless father-in-law Leroy said, "Is something wrong with Mom?" That's when I knew for sure. This was harassment. During the next extended holiday, I was reluctant to visit Sam's family. I told Sam, "Karen is being mean to me." "Really? My mom?" Sam, even more clueless than me, couldn't believe it. I remembered what Leroy had said last year. I think Karen won't like it, though. I had an idea to make the oblivious Sam understand. I'm going to call Karen now, so listen carefully to what I say. I called Karen on my mobile phone and put it on speaker so Sam could hear. "Hi, Karen. I've been feeling queasy lately when I eat beef. It would be great if you could avoid serving it during our next extended holiday." "All right." After hanging up, Sam looked puzzled. "Weren't you eating beef ribs just yesterday?" Sam still didn't seem to get it. Remember this conversation until the next time we visit home. Then came the long holiday weekend. The dinner table at my in-laws was extravagant. Steak, pot roast, beef stroganoff. The endless parade of beef dishes was disappointing, to say the least. But the one who looked stunned at the menu was Sam. It seemed he finally understood how Karen and Maribel had been treating me. "Wow, this is quite the spread," said Leroy, who was clueless. I went all out, Karen replied. Good for you, big bro, all your favorites, Mirabelle chimed in. Karen and likely co-conspirator Mirabelle exchanged knowing smiles. I was pondering how to address the situation when Sam beat me to it. He grabbed my arm and stood up. Mom, so you really have been harassing Maya. Karen and Mirabelle panicked at Sam's unexpected change of tone. What are you talking about? That's not true. Yeah, big bro. Mom prepared all this lavish food for your wife, didn't she? I heard you on the phone, Mom. Maya told you she can't eat beef. I thought it was a misunderstanding at first, but now it's clear you did this on purpose. Karen and Mirabelle's faces turned pale. Let's go. Oh, wait a minute. Mom, Mirabelle, explain yourselves, demanded Leroy, usually so gentle and smiling, now glaring at them. Ignoring the shouting and crying, we left my in-laws' house. On the way home, a calmer Sam apologized repeatedly. We agreed not to visit his family for a while. Knowing how much he loved his kind mother and adorable sister, I felt that was enough. Leroy also sent a letter saying we didn't have to see them until they genuinely reflected on their actions. He even included gift certificates. So peaceful days without visiting my in-laws passed by. Then we got news that kind Leroy had collapsed. Sam was torn about visiting them, but I encouraged him to go, and we both headed to the hospital. We met Karen and the others for the first time in a year and went into Leroy's room. He seemed stable, but his recovery depended on rehab. Seeing his weakened father, Sam looked defeated. Thinking about how Sam had stayed away from his family to protect me, my heart ached. After seeing Leroy, we felt a bit relieved. There's a great eel restaurant nearby. You like fish, don't you, Maya? Karen asked as we left the room, trying to gauge our mood. I was surprised she remembered my preferences. We haven't had much appetite since Dad collapsed. We want to build up our strength for tomorrow, Mirabelle added. We agreed to go out to eat, thinking it would be fine since there would be no other people around. The eel was delicious. Under different circumstances, we would have enjoyed it wholeheartedly. Karen kept asking, "Is it good? Want to order the grilled one too?" Mirabelle was also in high spirits. "I'm so happy to have a meal with you guys." The atmosphere was so much more pleasant than before. It was unsettling. As we left the restaurant and headed for the station, we ran into one of Sam's classmates. It seemed there was a local get-together that night. Sam was going to decline, but I could tell he was tempted when he heard it was with old friends from his hometown. Why not join them? You can stay at our place tonight, if Maya is okay with it. Karen and Mirabelle looked at me. I was not heartless enough to say no. After all, Sam has been down lately and hasn't seen friends because we've been away from his hometown. Go ahead and have some fun. You need a break, I told him. Sam seemed surprised I was encouraging him, but he decided to go after his classmates insisted. Karen and Mirabelle have been behaving, so they must be remorseful. One day should be manageable. I was too optimistic, letting my guard down over a half-day event. I'd soon learn the hard way that people don't change so easily. Sam left with his classmates for the restaurant, and we headed back to my in-laws' house. Maya, let's have dinner. Karen calls me into the living room. The food on the table looked fine, so I was relieved. I forgot, I have a watermelon cooling outside. Could you bring it in? Sure, I reply. I didn't feel like I was being used, so I agreed. I open the front door and head to the yard. There's a watermelon by the faucet, soaking in water and looking chilled. As I'm thinking this, I hear a click behind me. A bad feeling washes over me. I try to open the front door, but it's locked. I didn't think we'd get a chance for payback so soon, a snide voice says. I turn to see two faces pressed against the living room window, grinning. Memories from a year ago flood back. These people haven't changed. You tricked me! You're the one who tricked us. Was it fun monopolizing our son? I just showed Sam the truth. That's called being a poor sport. It's unfair to involve men in women's fights, Mirabelle says, smirking. If you're talking about unfair, 2 against 1 is even more so. If you'd been more humble and apologized for that day, we'd let you in, Karen says, looking down on me. Why should I apologize? I haven't done anything wrong. But you kept my brother from seeing our dad. Isn't that cruel? I'm at a loss for words. I had felt guilty about Sam avoiding his family to protect me. If you want to come in, apologize for your past actions, listen to your mother-in-law, and clear up your husband's misunderstanding. Got it? Karen says, then closes the curtain and leaves. I'm left standing there, staring at the lights in the house. Was I wrong? If I had been more tolerant, would Sam have seen Leroy more? Laughter comes from inside the house, as if mocking me. No, that's not it. If Karen and Mirabelle hadn't harassed me, neither Sam nor Leroy would have had to feel lonely. No matter how unpleasant they are, they're still Sam's family. I was willing to forgive if they showed remorse, but I've reached my limit. If they want to fight, then let's have one. To signal my counterattack, I rang the doorbell over and over. Karen, Mirabelle, open up! I yelled, pounding on the door. Of course, they didn't come out, but I sensed the door of the house across the street opening. I turned to see a kind-looking woman staring at me quizzically. I'm sorry for the disturbance. I'm their daughter-in-law. They told me to sleep outside tonight. The woman quickly helped me up from where I was about to lie down in despair. When asked to explain the situation, he weakly explains what happened so far. Turns out she's the mother of Sam's childhood friend and is close to Karen. She was initially shocked by Karen and Mirabelle's harassment, but believed me when she saw my sweaty, exhausted state. She offered to go confront Karen with me, but I was afraid of retaliation without my husband. I wanted to go to the restaurant where he was. Her son was also at the gathering, so she took me there. Sam was shocked to see me disheveled and sweaty, a victim of Karen and Mirabelle's harassment. I'm sorry. If I hadn't gone out, this wouldn't have happened. It's not your fault. I told you it was okay. The real culprits are those two who harassed us even at the expense of Leroy and Sam. 6 of Sam's classmates were at the gathering, and I was embarrassed to be there in my disheveled state. But they were all kind, getting angry on my behalf and comforting me. They even ordered food and beer for me, which revitalized my tired body. As Sam and I were about to leave to confront them, one of Sam's female friends made a suggestion. The plan was for me to stay at her place while Sam returned home alone. When Sam asked, "What about my wife?" the idea was to gauge their reaction. It seemed like a good way to collect evidence and assess their level of remorse, so Sam and I agreed. Around 11 p.m., the gathering broke up. I stayed at Sam's friend's house while he returned home. The next morning, as planned, I returned to find Sam at the front door. Next to him stood a deflated Karen and Mirabelle. They seemed relieved to see me, but quickly turned furious. "We were worried sick. We stayed up all night waiting for you." Karen lunged at me. Apparently, Sam hadn't told them where I was. "Ah, but you're the one who locked me out." "That's ridiculous. You probably went out manhunting." So that's their game. They planned to lie since they thought they had no evidence. Or maybe they thought my heart would quickly break and I would apologize. According to Sam, after locking me out, they had drinks and forgot all about me. When Sam came home, he panicked and looked in the garden, only to find that his wife wasn't there. Sam lied on the spot, saying I went out and hadn't returned. Their thoughtless actions were so absurd, I almost laughed. "Karen, remember the doorbell camera you were so proud of? It should have recorded me ringing multiple times," I said. "What?" Karen looked dumbfounded. Had she forgotten about her high-tech monitor while busy harassing me? "Mom, the neighbor across the street saw Maya trying to sleep in the yard. She knows everything. I came back alone to see your reaction," Sam said. Karen and Mirabelle paled, realizing their harassment was now public knowledge. "Instead of reflecting on your actions when Maya went missing, you blame her? That's so low it's beyond tears," Sam said. "Unbelievable. I'll never forgive how you treated Maya. Don't expect us to ever come back to this house. Sam!" Karen and Mirabelle let out cries of anguish as their beloved son turned his back on them. Ignoring them, we leave my in-laws' house behind. True to our word, we never return. The only concern was Leroy, but when his health stabilized, he chose a rehab facility near where we live. Leroy was also disappointed in their actions and didn't want to see them for a while. Sam seems happy to be able to help with Leroy's rehab. After our declaration to cut ties, Sam's face, which had been clouded with anger and sadness, has recently brightened, which is a relief. I also enjoy Leroy's kind and humorous company, and we chat from time to time. Meanwhile, my in-laws have become infamous in the neighborhood as the family that harasses their daughter-in-law. Sam's neighborhood friends and their mothers have been spreading the word about how I've been treated. Karen and Mirabelle had good public images, so some people couldn't believe it at first. But the vivid stories from friends and eyewitness accounts of arguments at the front door in the early morning added credibility. Karen and Mirabelle are now socially isolated and mostly stay at home. They occasionally send texts of apology or excuses to Sam and Leroy. But there's not a single word of apology to me, so it doesn't seem like they're truly remorseful. Not that I'm in the mood to forgive them anyway. As for me, I've gotten into camping since then. I never planned to go back to a place with such toxic people, but I thought it might come in handy for survival in case of a disaster. Once I started collecting camping gear and actually going camping, I quickly fell in love with it. Seeing me propose a camping trip for the upcoming long weekend, Sam gives me a complex smile. Sam is also getting into camping, influenced by me. "You're pretty resilient, aren't you? Do you dislike a resilient wife?" "Of course not. I welcome it." And so, with my resilience and my easygoing, kind husband, we continue to enjoy our harmonious, married life.